The Ripple bottleneck theory is going around on X. I wanted to explore what this is, why it's important for Ripple and XRP holders. We also have people from the Bitcoin community speaking out to say how important XRP is to banks and institutions. We also have a ton of other information that we're going to look at. Hidden Road, migrating post-trade settlement to the XRP ledger. What could this mean for our holdings? We're going to explore all of that and so much more in this video, guys. Let's go ahead and kick it off here with this great clip from the CEO, Elliot Johnson of Bitcoin Treasury.
Sending email at the speed of light, and yet it's going to cost me like 40 bucks and take 3 days, and maybe the money I send from Toronto can get to South Africa, but maybe not. And then I have to go chase after it. Like, it's ridiculous. And so XRP is just, you just tell that story, and then you say, oh, but there's also this protocol, and it's called XRP. And it's a cryptocurrency, and it's built for seamless instant payments. And as every country kind of comes onto the network and has a liquid local market, you can send on one, receive on the other. And then people are like, okay, I kind of get why you want that. It's like Western Union, except that it's not, doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. And it's like, that's right. And so it's all part of the same story. And what I love about it is it's another one to talk about, right? It's another example to talk about that, again, wakes people up to the fact that this is what's happening. This is what this asset class is all about. And again, like, if you live in your small world in your own country, and I don't mean that to offend anybody, but if you only live inside your own country and you only operate in your own economy, and you're lucky enough to be in a developed Western nation, you can go ahead, by all means, go ahead and ignore these advances in digital assets because you probably don't need them yet for yourself. But there are a lot of people in the world for whom this stuff is actually a meaningful improvement to them.
So really quickly, $140 billion is the number people spend on wire transfers every year. That's how much banks charge us to move our own money around the world, 140 billion. So over 10 years, that is 1.4 trillion. And as payments are only growing in number of how much we're sending and how many payments we're actually doing per year, that number could be significantly more. So using a protocol like RippleNet and using XRP to facilitate that trade, you can move that value instantaneously. You can get rid of Nostro Vostro accounts where money is trapped all over the globe in these stale accounts, right? You can save 80, 90% of value doing it from the SWIFT system. And so why aren't banks and institutions going to take these steps? I also did a video 2 days ago. I'll have Cas try to relink it either like above me or in the description, where I showed the connections between the XRP ledger and 60 real-time gross payment settlement systems through Thune's connection. That was a really big video I put out on Saturday. Go check that out if you're interested. Now let's get to the Ripple bottleneck theory here from digital perspectives. All these acquisitions are creating a bottleneck to the largest TradeFi players in the world. Together, this bottleneck opens up Ripple, RLUSD, XRP, and the XRP ledger to trillions upon trillions of payments, settlements, clearing, custody, and DeFi. And he goes to list Medico, Standard Custody and Trust, Rail Financial, Hidden Road, G Treasury, National Bank Charter next, Fed Master Account next. Well, Skinny only, or we don't really need to get into this, right? If Ripple doesn't get their National Bank Charter, possibility of getting a Fed Master Account, a Skinny Fed Master Account, but if Ripple gets the National Bank Charter, that really won't matter. But getting some more information here, the Ripple bottleneck theory suggests that Ripple's series of acquisitions, such as all the companies I just mentioned, are creating a powerful financial bottleneck that effectively controls and channels institutional access to digital asset infrastructure, especially for traditional finance, TradeFi giants. This bottleneck positions Ripple and especially XRP ledger and assets like XRP and RLUSD as a core gateway for trillions in payments, settlements, custody, clearing, corporate treasury operations, and so much more. How the bottleneck actually works here: acquisitions and components. Ripple has strategically acquired entities to cover custody, payments, and settlement. You got corporate treasury. You even have TradeFi functions now bridged and managed via Ripple's infrastructure, centralized access point. This creates a bottleneck where major institutions seeking to secure digital asset custody, efficient settlement, and treasury management increasingly must interface with Ripple's ecosystem. This locks in institutional flows and makes Ripple the default on and off ramp for many digital asset activities, right? Ripple is the gateway. XRP is the utility. We just had Brad Garlinghouse confirm that everything Ripple does is centered around XRP, the token. Ladies and gentlemen, holding XRP is holding a piece of the financial future. That is it. That is what we're doing here. Connectivity to traditional finance by plugging these services into financial markets backbone like the DTCC, SWIFT, and major banks. Ripple enables not only institutional grade blockchain access, but also regulatory and compliance strength. This is also very important when you're dealing with these institutions, boosting trust among traditional institutions. And then why is it good for XRP? Utility driven demand, institutional integration, and network effects and enhancement. And then Vet says, he posted this by Luke Judges, Hidden Road migrating post-settlement to the XRP ledger to enable clearance of trillions of dollars in flows at fractions of a cent, not accounted for in any model. And so Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road and the migration of post-trade settlement to the XRP ledger marks a pivotal transformation in both the digital asset and institutional finance space by integrating Hidden Road's post-trade operations, typically involving confirmation, clearing, and settlement onto the XRP ledger. Ripple is bringing decades-old market infrastructure into the blockchain era, making such functions drastically faster, cheaper, and more transparent compared to legacy systems. What does it mean for post-trade settlement on the XRP ledger? Post-trade settlement involves all activities that occur after a financial trade is executed, confirming trade details, clearing and matching obligations between parties, and settling the actual value transfer and updating records and custodial agreements. This is what we've been seeing with the DTCC. They have $100 trillion in assets that they manage there, and all of the clearing and settlement that they do is like, $3 to 4 quadrillion dollars per year. They could use XRP to settle now that Ripple is plugged into all of this post-trade settlement. You start to wonder, can Ripple get 1%, 5%, 10%, 50% of DTCC clearing? That alone could send XRP to the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And I think that's what we are hoping for here. Moving this to the XRP ledger means that all critical steps can now leverage blockchain speed, efficiency, and minimal cost structure, potentially settling trades in 3 to 5 seconds, dropping costs to fractions of a cent, and providing real-time auditability. Lots of really cool things happen. I just thought this was a great clip. I do talk about Chainlink being an important piece here for oracles and data across legacy and blockchain systems. This was at the Federal Reserve. They had that meeting last week, the conference. Let me just play this clip for you, 1 minute and 4 seconds. And I got some other stuff I want to show you.
So our system uses multiple independent nodes, just like blockchains do. And it does work with public chains as well as private chains. Generally speaking, those nodes can be configured into groups for a specific network that meets the requirements of a private user or a public user. So for example, if the Fed needed an Oracle network to do something specific, the Fed could choose the nodes and the conditions under which the nodes operate for the Fed-specific Oracle network. And that would be the risk that they choose in configuring that Oracle network. The public Oracle networks are configured similarly to how public chains are configured, with many node operators. Many of the node operators of Chainlink Oracle networks are also the node operators of many public chain nodes. So the Oracle network, there's over 1,000 Oracle networks running in the Chainlink standard. So you can configure an Oracle network to meet your requirements for compliance, location of the nodes, and these different requirements.
What do you guys think about Chainlink? Do you think Chainlink is an important piece to all of these puzzles? Are you acquiring Chainlink? I'd like to better understand from the XRP community what you guys think of Chainlink going forward. Let me know down in the description. I'm going to take a look at those comments. Smoke Dog says Ripple acquires G Treasury, $12.5 trillion in global payment flows. Remember, you have the Hidden Road, which is about $10 billion a day. You also have this, which is about $34 billion a day. You combine the two, that's $44 billion a day being cleared through the XRP ledger. That alone could send XRP well above $20 with all of this. You start adding in other areas that Ripple is going to do. If you get to 100 billion, 500 billion, clearing $1 trillion a day, this is where things can get pretty serious for Ripple and XRP. Now, Trump's new CFTC chair, Michael Selig, actually has made public comments about Ripple and XRP and how Ripple and XRP, that was a very important case. And he was on the side of Ripple in that case. Now this person is in charge of the CFTC, and he's saying a lot of things that are of very big interest to us.
Is that true? Does that apply to the rulemaking process that you guys would have to go through? Are you aware of that order? Yeah, so the goal is deregulation. The goal is kind of making the United States the crypto capital of the world and also the best place to do business in the world. And part of what adds burden to operating a business or engaging in commerce, right, are these regulations. And sometimes they're very duplicative. Sometimes they're unnecessary. I mean, I think our chairman most recently talking about a form mentioned that, we should have the minimum amount of disclosure as necessary. You shouldn't be imposing additional burdens where it's not needed. And so we're certainly taking a hard look in line with the president's directive to make sure that all of our regulations are what's necessary, no more than what's necessary. And I think that's really the idea. There are some administrative requirements due to this executive order around deregulatory versus regulatory, and that's something that the commission must consider when it issues new rules and kind of what it can take off the table.
Remember, it's going to be really important. Once Trump signs the Clarity Act into law, CFTC and SEC are going to need to do all of the rulemaking, basically what institutions can and can't do in the space from that Clarity Act, right? And getting all that set up. And looks like Mr. Selig here will be a key part in all of that. Great to see that he is a fan of Ripple and XRP there. Now, I do think people are underestimating the announcements we are going to get from Ripple Swell. This is only, what is it? It's the 26th today. This will come out on the 27th. This is a week away, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine there's going to be a lot of announcements here. XRP is already ticking up. Get ready. This is going to kick off. You have some of the biggest financial institutions in the entire world at Ripple Swell event. You have the CEO of the NASDAQ, people from BNY, Franklin Templeton, the head of Citibank Digital Assets here, Ryan Rugg. You have somebody here from BlackRock, Fidelity, JP Morgan, MasterCard, CME Group, Moody's, State Street, DBS, Bloomberg, Societe Generale. You get the picture here? Like, do you understand the importance of all of this? Oh my goodness. Something else I'm paying attention to, and I don't know, this account posts some good stuff and this account posts some just shade stuff. So I'm kind of up in the air, but I just wanted to show you what this person was saying here. It says, breaking, the Fed's $2.5 trillion liquidity bomb has gone off. The unthinkable came a reality. The Federal Reserve's on RPR facility, once the backbone of global liquidity control, has collapsed from $2.55 trillion to $2.4 billion, verifiable for the Fed data on October 24th. The system that held the world's excess liquidity is now empty. This is not speculation. This is a financial equivalent of a nuclear event. Here's what happens next. The $2.5 trillion, once trapped in the Fed's parking, is now flooding into the global markets. Bank reserves are holding near $2.93 trillion, only $130 billion away from the critical level that triggered the 2019 repo crisis. So far, stress is already visible above 4.2%. Liquidity is moving fast and violently. The XRP connection will shock you. Research from multiple institutional liquidity desks confirms that Ripple insiders have hinted at it for years. RPR drains directly correlate with the demand for real-time settlement assets. The world's liquidity is searching for instant settlement. XRP was engineered for this exact moment. Each time RPR liquidity unwinds, the demand for on-demand settlement instruments like XRP spikes for cross-border corridors and institutional payment rails. This is not a coincidence. It's a strategic design. The global debt spiral. The United States faces $24 to $28 trillion debt rollover between 25 and 27. Liquidity from traditional markets is being forced into more efficient settlement systems. This is not a monetary shift. It's a full migration of value structure. While legacy markets drain liquidity and the XRP ledger's on-demand settlement capacity stands ready to absorb the flow. This is what Ripple was built for over the last decade under NDAs. Yes, yes, yes. XRP is positioned for institutional revaluation as liquidity migrates. Traditional market indicators begin to lose relevance. Central bank controls over liquidity weakens permanently. The digital settlement era officially begins. So we'll see how all of this lays out, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I will see you next time. Have a great Sunday. Still trying to get over this cold. I do apologize. Thank you so much.